A new book is exploring the stories of the unremembered. Here with more is local broadcaster and author Ken Zurski. Good to see you, Ken.
Hi, Mark.
Last time I talked to you on the air, you were promoting your book, The Wreck of the Columbia.
Yes.
Very interesting book about some history around here that a lot of people didn't know about. Now, tell us about Unremembered. You're looking at people from all over the country.
Yeah, and it's an interesting concept to this book that I got really by reading other books. And I call these people who are in the middle pages of other books, because they're people who are kind of under the radar. They're people who aren't quite able to hold their own subject for a book, but they're little parts of the book, maybe a paragraph or two, where I would recognize something that they did in relation to something else, and I go, I'm going to write that name down, and I'm going to do some research on it. Of course, the internet's going to have something on everybody, so I would go and do some research and realize that these are kind of say they're famously interesting. Famous can be a subjective word, but they're famously interesting, mostly forgotten. And there's about 70 plus people in this book who fall under that category.
What do you think is the most interesting person in your book? give us a little sample.
Well, all of our cover models, as you see in the book, are interesting people. I think that one of the most interesting is George Francis Train, who kind of epitomizes everything that I wanted to do with the unremembered concept. Here was a guy who was productive, resourceful. He made his mark in shipping and in railroading and became very rich. But he wanted more than that. He wanted to put his name into even more things. He wanted to kind of embellish his record and what he did. And, he could have, just on what he did and based on kind of what he did with the Transcontinental Railroad and a lot of the early shipping going across the Atlantic. I mean, he could have been up there with the likes of maybe some inventors like Edison or Bell. Maybe. But he wanted more and got far less. But see, that's the type of person we kind of feature in this book.
Sure, and anybody local featured in the book?
Well, there's a local story featured in the book, and it's the Chatsworth train wreck. And I had done some research on the Chatsworth train wreck. Chatsworth is a town east of Bloomington, but most of the people who were on board that night were from Peoria. They boarded in the Grand Central Station here in Peoria, and the train wrecked. And it's still one of the worst train wrecks by loss of life in the U.S., not just Illinois, but in the U.S. And I had done some research on that, thinking I might do a book on the Chatsworth train wreck like I did with the steamboat wreck, but that never materialized. But it fit here because of where they were going. They were going to Niagara Falls. And there's a bit about Niagara Falls because that's such an interesting place that kind of fits in the unremembered too, because a lot of people were able to actually visit a place like Niagara Falls when they couldn't visit places like Yellowstone, or you had a natural wonder that was close to a very large urban area. So, but what came with that, with Niagara Falls, was people who were trying to be daredevils and test the waters, so to speak.
Sure.
And so people were hearing about this and they wanted to go. And so there was one of the largest trains leaving Peoria going to Niagara Falls, and of course it never made it.
Interesting. Well, we were talking about the publishing business before the break. Tell people how they can get your book.
Well, they can go online. That's the biggest thing. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all that. And really, that's the best way to do it. Or they can come see me. I'm doing a book launch this Friday, tomorrow. At the first Friday, the studios at Sheridan, the Sunbeam Building, will be part of that event. And I'll be there selling and signing books. And I heard the local Barnes & Noble is going to carry the book as well. So
excellent. Well, Ken, best of luck. I know this is your third book, right?
This is the third one, yeah.
All right. So we wish you best of luck on that very interesting book. Unremembered. Check it out. Look for it on the web. Thanks for coming in, Ken.
Thank you.